I've given it a wind. Let's see if it will play a record. This is an Apollo gramophone from about 1910, which I've been going through and checking the condition and parts. In this video I'm going to clean it up and make a few repairs so I can get it all back together again. I'm going to start by cleaning up the case. Most of the metalwork is removed anyway, but I need to take the brake and the speed control off also. This is a good opportunity to clean up these bits too. It's particularly dirty under the platter, so I'm using some non-abrasive hand cleaner. This stuff is Fabricating, which is a famous brand available in the UK and probably many other places too. I'm also cleaning around the bottom of the case, as that was very dusty when I got it. I'm largely keeping away from the sides as I don't want to risk damaging the transfers. The wood is marked where the back bracket has been. However, the hand cleaner had no effect, so for the moment I'll leave it as it is. The motor is a bit dirty, but has certainly been oiled in the recent past, as I seem to get it all over my hands anytime I pick it up. For an initial clean, I'm just using WD-40. This is really just a cleaner and not a lubricant. So the motor will need re-oiling and re-greasing also. I wasn't going to bother, but I've decided to strip the motor down and give it a thorough cleaning. Videoing this process is very helpful as I can see where the washers go. This one gets stuck on my hand. A few minutes later it ends up on the paper. This other one is in a very odd place as it's under the pillar. It probably did belong somewhere else but got accidentally moved in a previous service. To degrease it, I'm using some commercial degreaser. For previous motors I'd used white spirit, but this gives off really nasty fumes. The degreaser I'm using now has very little smell. The degreaser is water based, so after degreasing I'm washing the parts in clean water. Then, to stop flash rust forming, I'm drying the parts off with a hairdryer. Trying to make sure the governor is properly dry, I force it open too much and bend the springs. I have to strip the governor down to fix this. And it seems okay in the end. I'm not re-greasing the spring barrel at this point, so the spring barrel just gets a light external clean. The motor goes back together easily. I don't have any decent thick oil, so I'm using some good quality white bicycle grease for most of the parts. I'm not refitting the washer underneath the pillar, as it's rusty and doesn't serve any purpose there. The governor gets a good coating of sewing machine oil, including the disc and the pad. Now let's wind it a bit and see if it wants to run. That looks promising. Before I refit the motor, I want to tackle the crack that's visible around the back bracket. I'm adding some wood glue where the back bracket fits. I'm also adding some inside the case. If it gets worse, I'll add some supporting wood inside the case. However, there is already a piece there, so hopefully that will be enough. The motor didn't have any vibration dampening pads between it and the case. This also meant that the platter was at the wrong height, which affected the brake operation. I'm going to use some tap or faucet washers. These are rubber and lower the motor sufficiently. There are only 2 of these special nuts for holding the motor on. The others must have got lost in the past. I did find some nice brass nuts which fitted the motor, but unfortunately they are too big for the holes in the top of the case. I don't want to modify the holes, so I'm using my lathe to make 2 replacement ones. For this I'm using some 1/2 inch brass stock. First I turn it down to the diameter of the head. Then I drill the hole and tap it so it has a 4BA thread inside. I like to cut threads by hand as there is less chance of breaking the tap. Next, I turn down the shaft so it will fit through the hole in the case. Now I need to part it off. This is always a little tricky. It then goes back in the lathe the other way around to be cleaned up. Final job is to add the screw head slot by hand. Not exactly the same, but close enough. A 4BA nut will fit on the post. However, a 4BA screw won't go into the original nuts, so although this is not an exact thread match, it's close enough to work. The base is missing from underneath. It probably was a bit of plywood. As the motor has been freshly oiled and greased, I'm making a temporary base out of a thin sheet of hardboard to stop oil dripping onto my furniture. I'm going to start reassembly by putting on the back bracket. Next goes in the motor. Doing this on camera is trickier than I expected. The rubber washers make it harder as there is less thread for the nuts to engage. At last! That will do for now. I'll put the winding handle in now to check it is still aligned. The base wheel can go on now. I'm putting the brake back on now. The rubber pad looked awful, so I've found a replacement. The brake also didn't work very well. I've done some experimentation, even trying another spring, and have figured it out. Basically, I need to make sure the brake is in the on position before I tighten this screw. Otherwise, the spring acts the wrong way around. The spring also looks bad, as it seems to have been replated when a previous owner replated most of the metalwork. Unsurprisingly, the plating has flaked off. I'm going to use it though, as it may well be the original spring from when the machine was new. Works pretty well though, and will do for now. The speed control goes on easily. I will need to recalibrate it, as the lowered motor will change the speed setting. The winding handle escutcheon I put back on some time ago. I've replaced the screws with ones more in keeping with the rest of the machine. Now to quickly calibrate it. Now to refit the tone arm. I've not serviced the sound box, but that will need doing sometime as it doesn't sound great. Okay, time to pop the horn back on. I've given it a wind, let's see if it will play a record. So that can go back into the house now and get some use. If you have enjoyed this video, then you might like this one too. Thanks, and see you in the next one.